Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is SharePoint Power Hour. This is our 100th episode. Cue the sound effects. And this is for our 100th episode. We thought we would just do some silly stuff in here with our Google effects and our just do some fun stuff. And we're going to talk about tips and tricks today. So we're going to go over a lot of just kind of little things that maybe we discovered along the way in using SharePoint, or things that we wish we would have known sooner in supporting SharePoint. A lot of they're pretty random here and there. We've got some things having to do with troubleshooting, site permissions and different types of URLs that you can use to be able to get to certain things in your site. And Tavis even has some special cool little SSRS BI type of tidbits he's going to share with us. So Tanya actually put together a really nice little list just of things that she's discovered along the way for, in her travels. Tanya, do you want to start demoing a couple of those, or do you want me to do it, or just like make Ryan do it or something since he's a pirate? And he forgot his.
Yeah, it'd probably be best.
Do what?
It'd probably be best if somebody else demoed it, since I'm actually on the conference floor.
But again, anyway, we're pretty excited about this being our 100th episode, and all these different episodes we've done, we've shared just various sort of deep dives into things in SharePoint, but again, not very technical, not super, hardcore programming or server admin, just all these other out-of-the-box topics and discussions. And so it's been a fun couple of years that we've been doing these. And again, so I'm Laura Rogers at Rackspace Hosting, and this is my team. So before we get started with just kind of discussing our fun little tips and tricks, we'll let everyone do an intro, and you can do a longer intro this time if you want. And I don't know. Did anybody have a woo moment this week in SharePoint? You could share that too. Oh, somebody drew a crown on me. That's awesome. Let's see, Corey, then Kevin, then Ryan, then Steven, then Tanya, then Tavis. And poor Joelle is not here because she's on site at a client. So, Corey.
So, you may not be able to recognize me, but I'm still Corey.
Disguise.
I am... there we go. Switched to just real facial hair. SharePoint developer. I do out-of-the-box stuff. I've been working with SharePoint for, 11 years now, I guess? Yeah, something like that. Started with SharePoint 2003, which was terrible, and not that SharePoint's terrible, but SharePoint 2003 was pretty terrible. And now we're on SharePoint 2016 almost. Yeah, so I do out-of-the-box stuff, and somebody's drawing a huge purple mole on my nose. Yes, thank you. Somebody else go. Tavis, your face left you behind.
Does that sometimes.
I think I'm next. Good morning and welcome to our 100th episode. I'm Kevin Hughes, our SharePoint architect here on Laura's team at Rackspace. And I see that somebody's trying to draw something on me, but I won't let them. So there. I'm based out of Kansas City and been doing SharePoint for, before it was really SharePoint anything. And I've come to have a love-hate relationship with it. I love it, but I hate that it does so much that it overwhelms our clients, and it just has so many options and so many things that you can do with it that that's why we're here, to try to help you out and try to give you some ideas. So let's go on to the next one.
That's probably me then.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan Keller. I'm the branding guy on the team here. So essentially, that means that I make SharePoint look different. So whether that means it's a simple color scheme change or full-blown branding effort with custom master pages, custom CSS, custom styles, custom everything, we kind of do it all. I live in Colorado, and I've been doing SharePoint for about a little over 8 years now, I think. Sweet, I got pirate earrings. Nice. And let's see. I've been doing SharePoint consulting for a little over 6 years now, and been doing SharePoint branding almost exclusively for around 4 of those years. So, yay, 100th episode of Power Hour. Oh man, my other eye's gone now. So, I guess that's all for me. I will turn it over to Steven.
Hi, I'm Corey. And I am more the admin nerd on the team, but generally I help out our users when they first got in SharePoint or when they're first contemplating upgrading SharePoint, things like that. So I do a lot of our migrations, working with customers coming into Rackspace sometimes who already have an existing SharePoint. And I've been working with SharePoint for about 8 years now, something like that. And I am apparently being attacked by Zeus and the crazy hat monster.
Tanya, you're next, but we don't have a face to draw on.
Yeah, so I'm Tanya
sure
Kaiser.
That she really feels that she lucked out.
I'm definitely missing out. Definitely missing out. So I'm on audio only today because I'm actually at the Grace Hopper conference in Houston. But normally I'm based out of Castle, so Rackspace headquarters in San Antonio, and I run our internal SharePoint environment. So I get to deal with a lot of the end user support issues that we talk about. And I love this topic. I've been working with SharePoint for 2 to 3 years, but it's been my full-time job for a little over a year. And these sort of little tips are things that I find out every day, and I go, I wish I would have known that 6 months ago. So excited for this 100th episode.
And I am Tavis Lovell. I am the business intelligence developer on the team. I've been working with Microsoft Business Intelligence since about 2005, starting with SQL Server 2000. So I've done a lot of like stored procedure writing and view writing. Eventually got into DTS, and then SQL Server 2005 came out. And I got into like integration services and analysis services. And then Power Pivot started coming out, and then everything integrated into SharePoint. So now I'm into Excel services and Performance Point and all that. Power View, all that good type of reporting stuff. So that's kind of my playground.
Okay. All right. So Tanya is the one who thought of like this really great list of things that you can do in your URL in your SharePoint site. So for fun, I mean, all of you feel free to follow along if you want to pull up your SharePoint site and kind of try some of this stuff as we go. But we've got kind of some different things from different points of view. Everybody's been brainstorming this, right? And we also have our Q&A. So this is the fun part about just Power Hour is that we have the Q&A panel. So if you've never been in here, you don't know how to get to it, you can go to, if you're in the YouTube, click the yellow link to go over to the Google Hangout. When you're in the Google Hangout, you'll have a little, by default, it'll show the Showcase app over on the right side, and it'll have some links that we've shared. But you can use the little icon of some little squares towards the top right and switch apps. So you can switch over to the Q&A app. So that's where you can ask us questions live, and if you want to share your tips or give us feedback about it, this is a very sort of open discussion type of day. And so I really, more than ever, encourage you to ask us questions and or share if you want to. Let us know any tips that you have. Thanks, Tony. He said a happy 100th. And thanks, Anne. Anne's one of our very loyal followers. Appreciate that. All right. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to start going through Tanya's list, y'all, but I'm sure y'all have other stuff. I know Tavis has some stuff too. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. get everything situated, and I will remember to change my resolution before I do that, because it helps when we're looking at the YouTube video later when we have a certain resolution. Okay.
What resolution is that again?
It's 1280 by 720, and I think I changed it on the wrong screen. So
Put it to 640 by 480. It'll be great.
Yeah. All right, let me just go start sharing my screen first, and then we'll do that. Screen 2. That's the Bing image of the day. And it's a monkey. Okay. I'll put my SharePoint site over here. This is just my Office 365 site, and I'll zoom it up to 125. Well, I might not need to zoom that up to 125. All right. Screen resolution 1280 by 720. Yeah, I did the wrong one again. Good grief. Hold on. Maybe I should actually put it on the right. There we go. Sorry about that. We'll fill up an hour with just me messing with this stuff. Okay, now I definitely don't need to have that at 125 zoom level. Here's a SharePoint site. So I'm going to go over some tips and tricks having to do with just getting around in here and finding just little hidden pages you might not have known about. The first one is whenever, sometimes this comes up, you guys can chime in when you've needed, cases when you need to use this, but times when you need to be able to just quickly look at everyone in the, what's it called, user information list on the site. So when you go to people in groups, it starts by just showing you people, and you can click through different groups to see the people in them. But all these people are in what's called a user information list, and this list gets populated as people visit the site for the first time, so that everybody in the organization isn't automatically going to be in the user information list. It exists once per site collection, so anybody that's been to that site collection will exist in that list. But sometimes you need to go clean it up, or if you're troubleshooting, or if somebody left the company and you just need to remove them from the whole site collection all in one fell swoop, you can do that. You change the membership group ID to, I think it's 0. Yeah. So you just go into the URL, and whatever group you're in, it doesn't matter. You just change the membership group ID up here and just put a 0 on it, and that will show you every single, for usually in the real world, it's hundreds of people, right, in your company. And that's where you can go, like, Darish is in here because he and I collaborated on a book like 3 years ago, and I know that he doesn't even have permission to this. He doesn't use it anymore. I'm surprised he's still in here. I don't think he even exists at the Office 365 user admin level anymore. So I can go, are you sure you want to delete the following users from the site collection? They'll be deleted and not have access to any site within the site collection. Are you sure? So that's a very definitive way to get somebody out of a site collection. But if they still have access to it next time they visit it, they will appear there. Anyone have any feedback as to good times that, where you've used this and it was helpful?
I've got some good times and I've got some bad times. The good times are sometimes when customers have a new user that has the same login ID as an old user. They'll have trouble sometimes where they try and add them to something, and then the people picker, it'll keep finding the old user. So they have to delete the old user using that technique from the site collection.
Wow.
Because otherwise it can't tell the difference between the two. The other time that can be a bad time is if you delete somebody there, anywhere in the site collection where it says they uploaded something or they modified something, it deletes their name from there. So if they no longer exist in the site collection, SharePoint can't show them as the owner or the last person to modify anything. So be careful about that.
Good to know. All right, so that's one. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Let's see. one down. All right. Also, Tanya, you put in this to view limited access, and that is show limited access users equals true. Is that on the same screen? I've never used that one.
I believe so, and it's along the same line. I mean, so everybody knows, permissions in SharePoint are key. And when you look at like your list of users and you see, read limited access, full control limited access, something had unique permissions at some point, and that can get a little hairy to see, how many people have limited access. If you read certain TechNet or blogs, they say, don't touch anybody with limited access. But if you say you're in the situation where you inherit a farm that maybe didn't have the greatest permissions, you may just want to remove everybody's access. So it's just one other way to kind of see at a very high level who really has limited access.
Nice. And Anne asked about the first tip. Who can do that? I believe that's just site collection admins, right?
I believe so.
The user information list, I believe so. At least I think anyone can probably see the list. I think only a site collection admin can delete someone. Yeah. Because I've actually been testing that looking at groups thing, and recently I logged in as someone who was just a reader on the site, and they could go to the groups page and look at a group. But I guess I don't know if you have to have certain permissions to be able to actually change it to 0 and see the whole list. I've never tested that. If anybody feels like testing that, Corey, you're usually on the ball with testing stuff like that. So this is the second one Tanya just showed. So that is really useful to be able to quickly see this. In previous versions, before 2013, if you're not on Office 365 or SharePoint 2013, you automatically saw all this limited access stuff, right? But now if you want to see it, so I've always thought it's kind of nice to not see all that mess. But if you want to see it, then that's where you can go do question mark show limited access users equals true when you're on a permissions page. All right. So, and also if I go to style resource readers and I see they have limited access, I can also go click on style resource readers, and I can, when I'm on a group, I can go click view group permissions. And now look, it's actually showing me all the different places where that group has access in the whole site collection. So if you really kind of want to troubleshoot and be able to look at this from a more high level, if it's a group, then you can do that with, that's one of the big bonuses of using groups instead of people, is that you can do that. Notice I don't have any people listed here. All right. That's a cool one. I'd actually never used that one before. Thank you. Workflow history list. This is a really common one. If you're running workflows and you're not sure, you know that there's a workflow history list. Like when you create a workflow, it tells you in the workflow settings the name of the workflow history list, but you don't really know what that is or where it is. Yeah, so this is, I'll show you where the workflow history is. Anne says, as a site collection administrator, I can see the list of users. I just want to be able to delete the person from my site collection. Yeah. I guess only site collection administrators can delete people, but yeah, I'm not sure, Anne. That's a good point. We'll have to figure that out. All right, workflow history list. Where is that? It's /lists, and it's just hidden in here. Workflow %20. Gotta love that %20 history. Look at that. It's very ugly. The workflow history list is very ugly. It's not very easy to look at or read, but that's where you can go look at what's going on in there. You can sort it descending, so I can see the more recent things that have been going on in here. You can see that I did an approval workflow. One of the negatives about the 2013 workflows is that it'll have information about here, like if it ran or something, but a lot of like the logging errors and stuff simply don't go to this list at all. When a 2013 workflow errors, you actually have to hover over like the error status of the workflow on the status page, and it gives you this weird little pop-up blurb thing that, you know what I'm talking about, the big, ugly, long workflow error, so it doesn't put them in here. I've got a couple of blog posts actually that have to do with troubleshooting workflows and looking at that workflow history list. This is a good one. Well, I'm just on my blog and I just clicked workflows. The Workflow Rockstar session has stuff with troubleshooting, and then there's one about the workflow history list specifically. So there's one about an issue, and then there's another one about the workflow history list, get notified of workflow errors, which is basically me creating an alert on the workflow history list to send me an email just using SharePoint alerts when there are errors in there, but that doesn't work with 2013, like I said, because the errors don't go in there. So just a couple little extra tidbits about the workflow history list. So just a question that I get commonly is, you know, people want to be able to go look in here and they want to be able to see what's happened and be able to sort of decipher it and get like a report of workflows and stuff like that. I usually just don't bother with you trying to use this list for that. What I usually do in a workflow is I will create just some other list called changes or change history or something like that, just a regular custom list. And then in my workflow, I'll create actions that say just create list item in this change history list. Right, Corey? We do that all the time.
Yep.
and then the change history list ends up, and that way you can put what columns you want. It's not a big mess with all these ugly GUIDs. You can make it have exactly the data you want of who did what and when, and you just use that as regular actions to create list item in some of the lists. All right, so let's work. Any questions or comments about workflow history? Anyone? All right, so that's going to be per site. So whatever your site is, /list/workflow history. So this is not at the site collection. So every single sub-site or site where you have workflows, you're going to have a separate workflow history list, unfortunately. All right, so Tanya also mentioned to see the whole site size. So let's see. You would think that you would be able to go to site settings and go to the, what's it called?
Storage metrics.
Yes. Am I blind? Where is that? You're right. It's not there. Wait.
It's kind of in the middle under site collection admin.
Control F.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the URL that you sent me? What's it called? Usage and this. Let's see. Usage.
So storage metrics will give you kind of a breakdown of you know, where things are at your site, and you can see on the upper right corner, you know, it says like 0.91 gigs of 0.98 available. Some people, you know, won't always be able to see that, and they really like the, you know, the usage page where if you do have quotas assigned, you'll be able to see the percentage of your quota and what your maximum storage is allowed.
Okay, so I don't have a quota on my site collection.
Yeah,
so
if this was filled in, you would have like the number for the current storage, the percentage, and then what your quota is. So if you're running a whole farm and you have quotas set, you know, in central admin, depending on how you set up your quota, people will get a notification, you know, when they are 50 megs away from their quota, or, you know, on our internal farm, 20% away. And when they get that notification point, they get a URL to that summary page. This is actually one of the URL tips that I will give out to users who are site owners and let them know, you know, like, yes, you have a quota. And if you want to, you know, check on it periodically and see how close you are, use this link. Because if you go to storage metrics, it's really good about breaking down where things are in your site size-wise, but it never lets you know the quota.
Oh, okay. So if I don't have a quota on my site collection, I can go to central admin or go to this, you know, this admin screen in Office 365, and I can set a quota. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've done this. The storage quota 0.98 gig. Looks like I don't have a quota. Server resource quota, storage quota. So I selected a site collection.
Yeah, I wonder if that usage page is different for 365 versus SharePoint on-prem.
Ooh, yeah, that's interesting. Anybody in the that's watching this have any feedback or have you noticed anything about that before? Let's see. Let me storage code each site collection to a each selected site collection to a maximum of, like, I'll say 1 gig. And I'll save that. All right, so I'm going to see if the thing that I just said in there will actually apply. But this is kind of cool. Look at this. This is new. Does this look new to you guys, this percent use thing? Steven, have you ever seen this before? No, it's not new, Kevin?
In Office 365, it's not new, I don't think.
Oh, okay. I'm just not used to that. All right, so it's updating it. And let me go back to my sites. All right, so I'll go look at the storage metrics versus the usage. There used to be a link when you went to storage metrics. There used to be a link to the usage in previous versions,
Yeah.
and it just, they took it away, but they didn't take the actual page away. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
So
Here in
weird.
2010, it's a little different. So
Yeah, in 2010 it actually had a link. So interesting. And does this usage thing work for subsites too? Like if I go /travel, does it have a usage for subsites, or is that just site collection?
I'm not sure. I've actually never looked at the subsites because the subsites would be under the same quota. So I would think it would be the whole site collection, but
Yeah,
with SharePoint, you never know.
It took me to a page, and it didn't give me an error. It's just maybe this, but yeah, maybe this usage thing doesn't apply in Office 365 somehow. I'm not sure. Maybe that's why they took the button to it away, because they knew they were going to change something up behind the scenes. Let's go to the site one above analytics. Oh, usage logging is disabled in this one, so I don't have usage logging turned on. That's fine. It's just my test site. All right. Next tip from Tanya. We need to have like your own show. Tips from Tanya.
Just to follow up on one of the previous ones, the membership group ID equals 0. If a person has the link to that page, even if they're just like a contribute permission level, they can still see that page.
A link to.
So like if you have so if you have that link, even if you just have like contribute permissions to the site, you can still see that page.
Oh, okay.
You can't navigate to it, but you can see it.
Okay.
Just.
Yeah, because one of the things that I was noticing, I was pointing out in a recent presentation I did, is that you can use the little user site users out of the box web part to allow people to go see the list of groups and stuff and go click on a group. And I tested this, and all you have to have is read access to be able to go click on a group. You may not have permission in that group, in the group settings, to be able to see, you know, who can view it, but you can still get to the page. So that makes sense that all you have to do is then just go change that to a 0, and then you'd be able to see everybody in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so next one is the site contents. So if you don't, so look what they've done in Office 365, Tanya. See, they made site contents, so it sticks there now.
Mm-hmm.
And on-prem, people can easily just remove site contents because it's just one of the links listed there. But in Office 365, they made site contents a permanent link, so it's not part of the ones that you can just click an X next to. So that helps. So in Office 365, this tip doesn't apply as much. But so in a site, a user, if they only have like maybe read permission or something like that, they're not necessarily going to be able to go to site contents, especially if it's a publishing site. They're not going to have like this little settings thing and be able to go do that. So this tip is that all you have to do is go to a site, and then it's add this _layout/15/view lsts.aspx to go view all the site contents and see what the heck is in there, even if you can't navigate to it. All right. And then site settings is similar. So it's going to be settings like that. You don't have a link to site settings. I use this a lot actually with my blog. When I go to my blog site, I am just by default, I'm logged in as just a viewer looking at the site. So if I want to go quickly, I'll do like have content approval turned on my comments. So I'll go to the comments list and start approving things. But if I'm not logged in as me, a site admin, as opposed to just some generic person on the site, I can't go approve stuff. So you see the whole ribbon just disappears. And I don't have any kind of login button on my site. So what I do is I use the little _layout/settings like that, and it prompts me to log in. Now what I've done is I've already logged in, and I just set it to save my password, so it remembers my credentials, i.e. remembers my credentials, and it just takes me straight to it. But now I'm logged in as me, so all I had to do was navigate, was just know that URL to get to settings, and now I can go to comments, and now I can go approve stuff. So that's going to be applicable to anonymous sites, right? Y'all ever had to do that? I think Randy showed me that trick. I was all confused, didn't know how to log into my site because there was no login button. All right, another one we've got here is, this is the last one that Tanya sent, and then I've got one more that Joelle actually, a tip from Joelle from the other day that she helped us with. Hyperlink to open a file in the browser. All right, let's get out of here and go back to here. If I am, let's see, let me go to let's go find some documents or something. All right, here's a document, and I want to open it in the browser. First of all, I just click on it. It does open it in the browser, but what if I want to send an easy link to somebody to be able to go open that file in the browser as well? Oh, what is it doing? So what you do is you just add $web=1 at the end of it, the end of the URL. Actually, this is right here, what I'm showing you right now is different in Office 365. Looks like something that they just changed recently. All I'm doing right now is right-clicking on a document link. In on-prem, when you right-click on a document link, you get the regular, like this, where you can copy the shortcut and stuff like that and save the target. But now, when you right-click on a file in Office 365, it's got the regular drop-down menu. So that's kind of nice. I think maybe users were confused. Maybe they weren't seeing the little ellipsis, and they just decided to throw this in. So that's where now you can go to get the menu. But unfortunately, now I can't go grab the URL of it real quick, right? Yeah. So, like I can see when I hover over it in the status bar at the bottom, it says, /travel/shared documents /introduction to libraries, blah, blah, blah. So I would need to get that URL somehow and put the $web=1 on the end of it. Oh, this is a pain. This is a real pain. Like I came across this, I discovered this the other day when I was just trying to get a link to something in Office 365 like this. So yeah, it's real fun. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? Oh, also, let me try this. I'm doing a search. I want to show you another thing I noticed. Introduction to library. See, it's in here. And so this is that file that I was looking at in that library just now. But I also have this send button. You only get this in search, unfortunately, and you don't have this in the library itself. You have the share button, which is different. Sharing that's permissions. If you hit the share button, you're changing permissions on something. But I can hit send. Oh, thanks, Anne. Anne says this will help users. She wants to do the little applause thing, so somebody help her out. So do you want to know this website? Open a program on your computer, and so see it's doing a mail to. It's doing, basically it's got a whole mail to syntax that it's going to open up Outlook and do a mail to, so I can send someone a link to this. So that's pretty cool. So this is what it looks like. So this is just the regular link to it, and then in Office 365 it puts this whole whoppy frame blah 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 thing. But so what Tanya's saying is you do $web=1, right? It's nice and simple. Let me try that. It could this parameter could very well be different in Office 365. I'm not sure. You might have to use this funky thing right here. All right, let's go paste that. I'm actually going to go paste that like in. No, I'm not going to go to a different browser. I'm just going to go in here. I don't want to get prompted to log in and all that. Yeah, so that worked. So even though it gives you a big ugly URL like this to open in web, you really all you have to do is add !web=1 to just whatever that is. Or like I just did here, and I just went to search and I hit the send button. They need to put a send button in the library, right? That's our official request, is that they do that. See, because this is just so nice. Yeah, that would be... You just hit send and it sends an email. How hard is that?
Yeah, that would be really nice for on-prem.
All right. Okay, so that's a nice little tip. And also, if you see someone send you the !web=1 and you don't want to open in the web, you can take that part off and then just go straight to the document. Yeah, I think so. That was Tanya's last tip. Now this next one is going to have more to do with publishing sites. Let me go to a publishing site that I have in here. Maybe I don't have a publishing site.
While you're looking at interesting extensions on a URL, you might also add that for some people they might have added a web part to a page that causes the page to go really wonky. And if they add a little bit to the end of the URL for that page, they can go and delete that web part so it doesn't actually screw anything up again. They can figure out what's wrong, and that's just adding !contents=1.
Oh, you can you want to demo that one, Kevin, while I get this thing pulled up? Any interest in
want
that?
to? Okay, sure. Why not? Let me see if I can get a page that.
No pressure. No pressure. And I'm going to go create a publishing site collection so I can show you guys this issue, because it's fairly common, right, Tanya? Especially with publishing sites.
Yes, it really is. What's going wrong on my page?
I can show the page that. Oh, there's Kevin. He's got it.
Yeah.
So I think that's !contents=1.
Yeah, it's !contents=1. You know, now this page doesn't have anything wrong with it, but what you do is up in the URL, just you know, if you do have add a web part or script or anything on the page that makes it unstable and therefore inaccessible, or you can't edit it, or the ribbon goes away, you can, you know, because you added a particular web part or script into a script web part, you can add this !contents=1, and what that does, it takes you to the web part maintenance page, and you have the ability then to you know, to either close it so it doesn't display, or you can check it and, you know, reset the page to or the web part to what it was. You can tell whether it's open or not. You can check it out, or you can just delete that web part, and then, you know, it's in this case it's publishing site or publishing page site. I have to check it out first, but so we check it out, and now we can delete it, and now that's gone, and I can go back to that web page, and there's no web part, and it also will show you if you've actually closed some web parts that have not actually they're not been deleted. Somebody's just closed them, and so they're causing the page to load really slow. You can go in there and find if there's duplicates. You know, you think, well, I've added this, or I've got a heading, you know, that says I've added list view 1, and now I've got list view 2 and 3 and 4, but it's all the same, you know. So you can go into that maintenance page and actually, you know, find out what a little bit more about what's going on your page.
You're muted, Laura.
That only happens with the closing web parts thing on web part pages, right? Not wiki pages? Oh, Kevin's muted now.
I shared my screen.
That was an article page that I was on. So that's a publishing article page. It'll work on that, or a wiki page, or a web part page. But it just goes to the maintenance page or for that page. So it shows you all the web parts like Steven's got there. It'll show you all the different web parts that are listed on that page, whether they're open or closed or what.
Yeah, I was just kind of, all I was saying was that with a wiki page, you don't have the option to close a web part. You can only delete it. So you're not going to end up with all these like orphaned hidden web parts, closed web parts with a wiki page like you would with a web part page, right?
I've experienced where it looked it actually I've added a web part and it was added in a closed state because of it was a script or pulling or doing something, or a third-party web part or something that was incompatible. So it actually got added to the page in a closed state or a corrupt state. So this maintenance page was very helpful for me to just go and delete what I just did and get the page back to where it was. Very often, especially if you're using scripts of any sort, you can, if you put like a little simple JavaScript on there and forget to put a single comma or a semicolon or have an extra parentheses or something, the page will actually work, but it'll disable the ribbon. So the ribbon will come up, but every option will be grayed out. And the only way to recover that is to go to the maintenance page and delete that script web part that you just added.
Cool.
This is also real big in migrations because you don't realize how much junk you've put on pages and how many web parts that you thought you would remove from the old system that you didn't. And then when you migrate to a new system, those web parts are missing altogether. And if you go into the web part maintenance page, then you can get rid of all the things that are marked as closed or that they don't even, like here, it says like site feed or documents or promoted links, but it'll have an error or it'll not have a valid name, and that means it's not even installed in the system anymore, but it's still registered as being on the page, and that takes up resources when the page loads, even though it doesn't show. So it can speed things up by getting rid of all the junk web parts.
Yeah, and that's especially true. Even if you're not doing a quote migration, if you're just doing an upgrade from a 2010 site, that is very helpful because there's a lot of stuff in 2010 that works great until you upgrade that site to a 2013 site.
Really? Next, 2010 is when they introduced the wiki pages. So 2007 is when we saw a lot more of the pages loading slower and slower because people kept putting web parts on them and then closing them and not deleting them. But then 2010 and 2013 with the wiki pages introduced a whole different set of issues, right?
And this works on all three of them.
Nice. All right. I can go ahead and I'm still waiting for that publishing site collection to spin up, but I can go demo what we're talking about with adding web parts to a page and having them closed versus deleted. I can share my screen. Let's see.
Laura, I think your voice is have you got an effect that makes you sound like a robot?
No, maybe it's maybe my computer's overloaded or something. I'm not sure.
I thought it was just the conference bandwidth.
Could be.
We're using auto-tune now on Power Hour. That's all that is.
I'll turn my video off and share my screen and we'll see if it makes it better.
I am Laura. I am robot.
I'm really a robot. Okay, so y'all can see my web part page. Now, there we go. All right. Did that make my voice any better getting rid of the video?
Not at all.
No.
It's crazy. I don't know. Somebody else can demo this if you want. I'll just add a bunch of web parts to this page while. So I'm just going to add 3 web parts, and then I'll show you what it looks like to close versus delete one. So is a web part page, not a wiki page. So there they all are. And see if I go close like this. Or there used to be a little, let's see, I can go to this checkbox and see I can delete it. It used to be a lot less obvious in 2007. Like there was actually an X up here that would close it and not delete it. Does that ring a bell? So I closed it, closed it. All right, so I closed a couple. Now it looks like they're gone, right? And users would think that they're gone. Go add a web part. Closed parts. So here they all are. So if you ever go hit add a web part and you see this closed parts thing, that's where they exist. They're still there. So when the page loads, it's still loading all that data in those web parts. And so you actually need to delete. Or if I can go back and close it, and then I can go do the little thing that they were talking about. Is my voice still horrible?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right.
Fact about it, like, yep.
So it's question mark contents equal 1. So weird that I have to do this. Okay, see, look at that. See, I closed this one, but I didn't delete it, so now it shows as open on the page, says no, but it's still there. So then that's how I could go delete it like that. All right. Sorry about my voice. Let's see. Is it like unbearable? Let's switch to a different microphone and see if that helps.
I can demo the BI stuff if you want me to.
Yeah,
real quick,
let's do that.
While
Let's do that.
while you try and get a hold of your microphone situation. All right. Let me share my screen real quick here. And I have it set to grandma resolution, so hopefully everybody can see everything fairly well. Let me know when you guys can see my screen. Is it working?
It is not working.
Is your screen solid black?
No, it's not.
It is not working.
Let me try again. Take 2. Full screen 2. Ready, start screen share. Go. These Google Hangouts work real good.
Computer's jacked up, Travis, but I think you already know that.
All right, yeah. So let me try something else. Let me see if I can get like just maybe VMware Workstation to show instead of full screen 2. Let's try that. Ready, go gadgets, screen share.
Yay!
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other day I was on a call and a customer had a question. They wanted to be able to export one of their reports to like Excel or PDF, but they didn't want to have to open the report. So typically, if you were going to like export a report, you would go to like your report. I have some in here under SSRS Live, and you would just open it up, and you get this little actions menu here, where you can just say export, and then you get to choose your flavor of export, right? Pretty easy. But they wanted just a link that would do this, and they were going to put this link somewhere else, I think outside of SharePoint, and they didn't want to have to have the user actually open up the report to download it. So we did some looking around, and there is a way to make that happen by passing in some parameters to the report server to make it just automatically download in your flavor of format. So let's take a look at how we can do that. The first thing we want to do is navigate to our report server. Now this all kind of changed in SQL Server 2012 because reporting services became a service application, at least on-prem. If you're in Office 365, you don't have reporting services at all, so sorry if I'm boring you right now. But what you'd want to do is navigate to your site. We'll just use portallockandtoso.com, and then you want to add /_ VTI _ bin, and then a report server, like so, and then hit enter. And the reason I'm navigating to this, now before this would usually just be like your SharePoint site / report server, but in 2012 it's or SQL Server 2012, that is. SharePoint 2013, it's _VTI_bin / report server. Anyways, the reason we want to navigate to this is because we're going to feed in, when we start to construct a URL, it has to have a whole bunch of escaped characters in it, and they're not the typical escaped characters that you would think. Like, you know how usually %20 is space. In this instance, we have to escape the colons, the /, and the spaces. And the space is actually just a plus sign, which I thought was kind of weird. Anyways, and %3a for colon, %2f for /. But if we navigate to our report via this report server URL here, it's going to do all of that escaping for us, and then we're just going to steal the URL from here. So let's go ahead and grab this part of it and just throw it into our trusty notepad here. And then I'm going to navigate to my report. So my report is in portal.condoso.com, and then SSRS class, and then SSRS live. And there is my report 1 that we're going to take a look at that I showed you just a second ago. So we're going to go ahead and grab the rest of this now. Let's see here. So after report server, we had question mark, and then all of this stuff, basically the path to our report, but we don't need this last little parameter here, rs command equals list children. I'm going to grab all the way up until that. So I'll copy that. We'll throw that onto our URL here. And then in order to make it automatically download, instead of view, we're going to throw on a parameter that is &rs :format. And then we can tell it what we want. So we can say PDF or Excel, or there are several other ones, but I don't know exactly what the text is you need to type in for those. But Excel is just EXCEL. So let's go ahead and grab all of this. And hopefully this works. Cross your fingers. That's unfortunate. So let me see what I've done wrong here. I figured something like this would happen, so I made sure to have the URL.
Live troubleshooting.
I made sure to have the URL ahead of time as well. So let's see. That doesn't need to be there. Let's compare a correct URL.
I'm going to answer a couple of questions while you do that, okay?
Sure.
Let's see. So, and when I was talking about the send button in that document library or in the search results page, and said if you send, would the person have to have permissions or would it use anonymous? They would definitely have to have permissions. So the send button doesn't do anything magical. It has nothing to do, it doesn't change permissions or give them permission to it or anything. It just gives them a link. So if they have permission, they can get to it. If they don't, they'll get just a regular old access denied error. So if you wanted to actually give someone permissions to something and send them a link at the same time, that's where the share button would come into play. But again, I don't. Then you're just sharing a single file and you're breaking off and giving that one file a separate set of permissions than everything else in the library, and it's not really a best practice. So. So that's, yeah. And then T. Robinson said this happened to me recently where I added a rule script in the in-text form, and the page where I displayed the form in the in-text form's web part, the page ribbon disappeared on me. So he has had that happen before too. So yeah, that's a good troubleshooting thing with the disappearing web parts. Oh, Josh has got a BI question, it looks like. Says he currently has a low option in Office 365 license that does not give me the ability to use Power Pivot, Excel service, etc. I use an MS Access database to write to SharePoint list and then report out of Excel by connecting through OData.
And then
Okay, yeah, if you don't have all those fancy BI products, then shoot, yeah, use Access and just write a good old-fashioned Access report. The problem with those is this, that you just you can't share the report. You can't like display it on a page or something when you're just doing that on the database on your computer, right? And then Josh says, oh, this is some more using Access data. You Access UI to write to the SharePoint list and Union query multiple transaction table together. Tavis, you probably understand more about what he's talking about. Refresh in Excel and report. Any recommendation on a better way? Well, Josh, the better way would be to buy the actual enterprise versions where you could do that. Everything you're doing is kludgy because you're using the free product. Tavis, do you know of any other kind of workarounds? It sounds like he's doing what I would do if I had to have the free version of SharePoint.
What is he trying to do? I didn't understand the question totally.
He's
fast.
pulling a SharePoint list into Microsoft Access on his computer. And then using the Microsoft Access UI to write to the SharePoint list, then union query multiple transaction table together, delete append query to new list, refresh in Excel and report.
That is, I think we'd probably have to have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
Sure, I totally follow.
We have to have a whole power hour on free ways to do BI in SharePoint. I'm sorry you had the free version. That makes me sad, because yeah, it is a huge pain. And then thanks, Tim, for the compliment. First time watcher, many time user. Thanks for these sessions. Is there an easy way to download list items to a file type in 2010, like text, CSV, or Excel? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Tim, like attachments in a list or something, so just go ahead and let us know more details about that, and I'll let Tavis finish what he was doing.
I mean, you can export most lists to Excel just from the...
Yeah, that's the whole list, but I don't know what he's talking about, because that's just a button in the ribbon, so maybe he's talking about something different.
It just may be a button he hadn't seen before.
Maybe.
So I figured out what I did wrong here. The final piece, once we had navigated in Report Manager, or I'm sorry, on the report server to where a report was, we forgot to also add the report that we actually want to show, report1.rdl. And that is why things messed up. So we need to add %2f, which is going to be a /, right? Because we have to escape our characters, and then report1.rdl. And then if we added that to ours up here, it would be the same, except for exporting to Excel. So let's try that again. I have a much higher level of confidence this time that it's going to work. So.
Yeah, people can go to that URL encode decode website if they want to be able to figure out like that a / equals whatever that was, %2f or something.
Yeah, this one was.
Remember that?
Well, I've never seen the plus sign be used for a space before. It's like usually, your %20, everybody's favorite, right? So I don't know. It seems to be using some slightly different type of escaping, but I don't remember what the regular escapes for colons or /s are. Anyway, we put that in there, and it works. So we are able to download that report now, or just open it, I guess, is fine. And now we'll see our report in Excel. So if you wanted to make it very easy for people to download these without having to view the actual report in a specific format, this is how you might go about it.
So you'd put like that linked, somehow formulate that link using variables or something like that as a hyperlink, or have it get sent in an email or something? Like, how are they consuming that hyperlink?
Maybe a calculated column?
Could be, yeah. They were going to reference this, I believe, from outside of SharePoint, so they wanted to have it somewhere where they could click on it, and it's going to download the report automatically without having to open it. Yeah. They were very specific about not wanting to open the report.
People like less clicks. Less clicks is very popular.
I've heard that.
All right, cool. Was that the end of that demo?
That is the end of that demo.
I'm gonna try and go to mine. See if it finished creating the site collection. Site collections take longer than I remember them taking to create. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen then. Oh, we have a lot more questions. Hold on. Oh, Tim says what I'd like is a button or link similar to export to Excel to download the list items as, for example, a CSV file. Each item would be a CSV file? Oh.
Now, I think he means instead of doing just the export to Excel, he wants to be able to have a button to export to a different file type. So instead of Excel file type, he export the list to a CSV file type or to a text file.
Yeah, all I know is that once it opens up in Excel, then you could, when you click Save As, so you could pick CSV as your format, you save it as. But no, there's not a way that I can think of that you would just have it export as something else.
Ann says your voice is better.
Oh, good. I changed the microphone, so awesome. Wire says, do we have anything on submitting tasks from InfoPath to SharePoint? Submitting tasks from InfoPath to SharePoint. Oh, good Lord.
Almost a whole power hour.
Submitting tasks from InfoPath to SharePoint. Yeah, don't get me started on that. Corey and I just did, so I can give you a high-level overview of something Corey and I just built for a customer that's maybe we can do as a power hour one day. But we created just a regular SharePoint list, and we created a task list. It's got a lookup to the SharePoint list, and then put the tasks web part on the page, on the web part page with the form, so that when they open it up, they open the form up, they see the tasks web part with the related tasks on the same page. And then we customize the task form in InfoPath so that all you do is click the task, and then all the task form is an approve and reject button. Mm-hmm. So that way you don't have people all confused with going to all these different places and different lists. It's just you're looking at the thing you want to request, and then when you click to open the task, all you see is an approve or reject. And then that way, and then since we used a lookup field to connect the task list to the request, then it's going to stay, tied together, and you're going to be able to see the related tasks on a web part. So that's just a very high-level overview. I think it's going to turn out pretty cool the way we're doing it. So maybe we could do it, because that's a very popular thing that people want to be able to do, and it's very frustrating to me that there isn't a good out-of-the-box way to do it. There are out-of-the-box workflows, but there are way too many negatives to me. And just having to deal with them in the real world. So, good idea, though. All right, yeah. I'll go ahead and share my screen with this. Oh, no, the thing's over now, so we won't worry about the publishing site thing. Oh, what? Well, all it was that Tanya, you want to just give a verbal overview of what it was real quick? I'm not going to do a demo.
For the publishing site?
Yeah.
Are we back on how web parts closed?
No, it's the thing that Joelle helped us with the other day with turning off the multi-level versioning draft.
Yeah, so we came across an issue specifically for publishing pages where you have a master page that has a minor version, so that page hasn't been published. And the only way that you can see that is if you go into your master page views and then make sure you see which ones are, full published versions. Is that what you were talking about?
No, it was that site's roll-up. It was just a page in a pages library that no one could see because someone had created it but then never published as a major version. But then it wasn't obvious to us as to why we were seeing one version of it and then everyone else couldn't see that. Remember, it was the sites, the big list of all sites on our main portal?
Yes, I thought there was also a master page issue in there too.
Yeah, we just turned off it had draft versioning turned on by default in publishing, and we just set it to major versions only. And doing that, just everything that had been a minor version became a major version, and the problem was immediately fixed because then that page that had been checked out to someone else or never published or whatever just appeared and it worked, and it was fine. So.
Yeah, and that happens a lot on any kind of publishing site, where people, well, I can see it, but this other person can't because you haven't gone through and officially published your draft.
And you can also go to that, manage items, with no checked-in version in your.
You don't know to do that in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think that was it, guys. Thanks everybody for coming. I think we had up to 25 or 30 viewers just watching it live, so that was pretty fun. Sorry we went over a little bit. Who knew? Just going over tips that we would talk for that long, right?
And for anybody who asked questions that we couldn't cover, send us a message on YouTube or something and ask for these things, and then maybe that'll give us subjects for future Power Hours.
We do get those, Stephen. I just forget.
Yeah, and be sure to request that Stephen do all the demos.
Yes, and Stephen, you can keep track of the list of things people are submitting.
Stephen is the worst demo giver here, so viewership will drop precipitously.
All right, thanks everybody for coming. And episode 101 next week, we're having a guest. We're having Ben Nolan from I probably pronounced his name wrong, from ShareGate. So Ben from ShareGate is here. He's famous. He's awesome. He has a great blog, and he is going to go over some cool stuff with content search web parts for us. So we're really looking forward to having him as a guest. ShareGate's awesome. See y'all next time.